You want to know why you're not winning yet? Let me tell you something. It's not because you don't have talent. It's not because you weren't born in the right family, the right neighborhood, or given all the right opportunities. No, the reason you're not winning yet is you. It's the choices you're making when nobody's watching. It's the excuses you keep feeding yourself when things get hard. I've been there. I've sat in the back of the room, invisible, overlooked, underprepared, but not undeserving. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is the work you're avoiding, the fear you're listening to, and the faith you haven't activated. This isn't about motivation. It's about movement. You've got to stop waiting to feel ready. Start walking in the direction of your calling. Because purpose doesn't chase people who are standing still. You say you want to win. You say you're tired of where you are, tired of not having the results, tired of being overlooked, underestimated, and stuck. I hear you. I've been there. But let me ask you something real. Are you committed to the vision you say you want? Not interested. Not kind of into it. Not doing it when it feels good. Talk about real, unshakable commitment. Because most people lose long before the world ever sees them. They lose in the quiet moments, when no one's around, when it's not glamorous, when it hurts, when it's boring, when there's no applause. That's where the battle is fought. And that's where most people fall off. There was a time I didn't know what my life would become. I was a kid from Mount Vernon. No roadmap, no guarantees. My path wasn't lit by promises or privilege. It was lit by a burning desire to make something of myself. But let me be honest with you. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen just because I wanted it. Wanting something isn't enough. Everybody wants to win, but not everybody is willing to do what winning demands. I remember walking into auditions, getting rejected, being told I wasn't right, wasn't ready. I remember moments where I questioned if I was even built for this. But deep down, I knew I had something. A gift, a voice, a calling. But gifts don't grow on their own. They require discipline, focus, and relentless effort. And above all, they require commitment. Not the kind of commitment where you say, I'll try for a few months and see what happens. No. I'm talking about the kind of commitment where you say, I'm doing this until it works. Until they see me, until I become who I'm meant to be. I had to bet on myself when no one else would. I had to show up early, stay late, study, rehearse, fail, and then come back again. And again, and again. Because I knew this dream wasn't going to hand itself over to me. You don't get to the top by accident. You climb, you crawl, you scratch. And you don't stop climbing because the view gets hard or the air gets thin. You keep climbing because you know that where you're going is worth every cut, every bruise, every setback. See, some of you are halfway in. You've got 1 foot in the vision and 1 foot in your comfort zone. That won't work. That's why you're not winning yet. You're trying to play it safe while expecting risky rewards. But winning requires risk. It requires sacrifice. It requires you to give up who you've been so you can become who you were meant to be. People ask me all the time, Denzel, what was the turning point? When did it all start to change? The truth. It changed when I changed, when I stopped blaming everything around me and looked in the mirror. When I stopped waiting on someone to rescue me and decided to rescue myself. When I got serious about my purpose and refused to let fear make my decisions. That's when everything began to shift. So if you're wondering why you're not winning yet, don't look out there. Don't point fingers. Look inside. Ask yourself, are you committed to the grind or just the glory? Are you committed to the work or just the outcome? Because the truth is, the world doesn't owe you anything. Your dream doesn't owe you anything. But if you respect it, if you honor it, if you give everything you've got day after day in silence, in solitude, it will respond. Maybe not on your schedule, maybe not how you imagined, but it will respond. I'm not telling you this because it sounds good. I'm telling you this because I lived it. I am the result of relentless commitment. And if you want to win, truly win, you've got to decide right now that nothing will make you quit. Not failure, not fear, not pain. You've got to go all in because that's the only way the dream lets you in. You see, for a long time, I was afraid. Not afraid of the world, not afraid of people, but afraid of what it would mean to give it my all and still come up short. That's the kind of fear most people don't talk about. We cover it up with pride, excuses, distractions. But underneath it, there's that quiet question, what if I try and I'm not good enough? I had that question echoing in me too. Before the awards, before the applause, before the big screen, I was just a young man trying to find his place. There were moments I walked into auditions and could feel the doubt in the room before I even opened my mouth. Sometimes that doubt wasn't even from them, it was from me. That inner voice that said, you don't belong here, you're not enough. But here's the truth I came to understand, that fear of failure is a lie dressed in caution. It's the enemy of destiny. It convinces you to settle, to stall, to shrink. And let me tell you, fear doesn't stop failure. Fear guarantees it. Because if you never show up, you've already lost. I had to learn that the hard way. I spent years watching others rise while I questioned whether I should even try. But there came a point where I had to decide, was I going to live scared or was I going to live called? And let me tell you something, the moment I stopped trying to avoid failure and started accepting it as part of the process, everything changed. You're not losing because you're incapable. You're not behind because you're unlucky. You're stuck because you're scared. Scared of hearing no. Scared of falling flat. Scared of people watching you fail. But guess what? Everybody fails. I've failed. I've been rejected more times than I can count. Doors slammed in my face. Roles I thought I was born to play, gone. But each failure taught me something. Each one was a step. A painful one, maybe, but a necessary one. And every time I fell forward. I learned how to stand back up with more clarity, more hunger, and more humility. What people don't see when they look at success is the staircase of failure beneath it. The grind. The nights you cry alone. The days you question your sanity. The mornings you don't want to move, but force yourself to anyway. That's where winners are made. Not on stage, not at the award show, but in silence, in sweat, in struggle. When I accepted that failing didn't mean I was finished, that's when I really started to grow. That's when I started to win. And here's something else I'll say. When you stop fearing failure, you become dangerous. Because now you're playing free. You're not hesitating. You're not holding back. You're no longer chained by what if. You're driven by what could be. And that shift, that changes everything. When I walked into rooms no longer trying to people, but instead just focused on expressing who I really was, that's when I started booking roles. That's when people started seeing me. Because I wasn't pretending anymore. I wasn't tiptoeing. I was bringing all of me, even the messy, imperfect, unsure parts. If you're listening to this and you know you've been stuck in that fear, hear me, it's okay to be scared. But it's not okay to let that fear decide your future. It's not okay to bury your gift because you're afraid of failing in front of people who don't even understand your vision. Some of you are waiting for permission to go all in. Let me give it to you. And now, mess up, get embarrassed, get rejected, because that's where the gold is. That's where the refinement happens. That's where you are built. I didn't become Denzel Washington by playing it safe. I became who I am by falling forward again and again and again. And if I can do it with all my flaws, with all my doubts, then so can you. So stop waiting for the fear to go away. Walk with it. Talk to it. Learn from it. But don't you let it stop you. Not now. Not ever. People think talent is enough. They look at someone winning and say, he was born with it. She just got lucky. But I'm here to tell you talent will get you in the door, maybe even get you noticed. But discipline keeps you in the room. I've seen it in my own life. I've had moments when I thought just being gifted would carry me through, that I could rely on natural ability, on charisma, on potential. But talent is cheap. Discipline is rare. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doors. And let me be honest, for a long time, I didn't understand that. I had to learn it the hard way. There were years when I was just floating, going to auditions, getting rejected, sometimes landing a role, sometimes not. And I thought, maybe that's just how it works. Maybe success comes when it wants to. But that's not true. Success comes when you're ready to receive it. It shows up when you've done the work over and over again, even when no one was clapping, when no one saw what you were doing, when it felt like nothing was happening. That's when it's being built. When you're being built. There were mornings I didn't want to get up, nights I wanted to quit. And I'm not just talking about in my early days. I'm talking about even after I made it. Discipline doesn't stop once you get the role or the title or the house. It's a lifelong fight. I had to fight laziness. I had to fight distraction. I had to fight that voice in my head that said, you've done enough today. Because the truth is, the ones who win aren't always the most talented. They're the most consistent. They show up. They do the work. They train when nobody's watching. They study when others are sleeping. They sacrifice when others are partying. That's discipline. I remember a time I was working on a script, a tough one. It demanded more of me emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I could have coasted. I could have said, I'm Denzel. They'll accept whatever I bring. But I knew better. I knew what it meant to honor the craft, to respect the role, to serve the story. That takes disability. And every time I thought about cutting corners, I reminded myself the audience may not see the hours I put in, but they'll feel it in the performance. That's the difference. That's the edge. And look, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying every day has to be a masterpiece. But every day should have intention. Every day should move you one step closer. You want to get in shape. Don't wait for motivation. Get up and move. You want to write that book. Stop talking about it and write the first sentence. You want to change your life. Then change your habits. Because discipline isn't something you have. It's something you build one decision at a time. There's a reason I keep going. A reason I keep working, keep studying, keep sharpening my tools. It's because I know what it's like to be counted out, to be seen as just another guy with a dream. But dreams without discipline are just wishes. I didn't come this far to wish. I came to work. I came to grow. I came to leave something behind that matters. So if you're wondering why you're not winning yet, look at your discipline. Are you doing the hard things when no one's watching? Are you sacrificing pleasure for purpose? Are you saying no to things that don't serve your future? Because winners don't need to be told what to do every day. They wake up with vision. They move with purpose. They train when it hurts. They stay ready so they don't have to get ready. And if that's not you yet, that's okay. But it can be. You can start today. You can choose discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure, consistency over chaos. That's how you win. That's how I did it. Not because I was the best, but because I refused to quit, and I trained like every day mattered. Because it does. Every single one. You're looking around at everybody else, watching their highlight reels, their wins, their perfect moments, and you're wondering, why not me? Why can't I seem to break through like they have? You're caught in this trap of comparison, and you don't even realize it's slowly draining your power. I know that feeling. I've been there. I used to look at other actors, watch how easily they seemed to walk into rooms and get the parts, how the world seemed to open up for them, while I was still grinding, still hearing, no, still questioning whether I even belonged in the room. But let me tell you something that took me years to learn. The moment you start comparing yourself to someone else, you've already lost, because now you're not playing your game. You're trying to play theirs. Early on in my career, I walked into auditions already defeated, not because I wasn't talented, but because I was already measuring myself against people who weren't me. Their story, their background, their blessings, all different. I wasted time trying to match their energy, speak like them, act like them. And every time I did that, I got further away from who I really was. And the truth is, your power is in you, not who you're trying to be like. The industry didn't need another version of someone else. It needed Denzel. But I didn't know that at first. I had to learn it the hard way. You see, comparison is the enemy of purpose. When you're busy watching what someone else is doing, you're not watering your own garden. You're not building your own craft. You're not sharpening your own tools. I remember one role I didn't get, a role I thought was mine. I was devastated. I saw who they gave it to, and I let it eat at me. But a few months later, I got a different opportunity, one that changed my life. And that's when it hit me. I was so focused on someone else's win, I almost missed the fact that God had something better lined up for me. But I had to stay in my lane to receive it. People ask me all the time, how do you stay so focused, so grounded? The answer is simple. I stopped competing with the world and started competing with ease myself. Every day I ask, can I be better than I was yesterday? Can I show up with more intention? Can I give more, serve more, love more, grow more? That's the real race, the one you run in the mirror. And once you understand that, you stop worrying about who's ahead of you, because the only person you're trying to beat is the person you were last week. When you compare, you distort your own journey. You minimize your own growth. You fail to see the beauty in your own process. Just because you're not there yet doesn't mean you're not on your way. The other person's timeline is not your truth. Their pace is not your pace. I didn't win every role I went after. I didn't explode onto the scene overnight. It took years of rejection, of silence, of confusion. But in that space where it looked like nothing was happening, everything was happening. I was being molded. I was being tested. I was being refined. And if I had spent that time comparing, I would have missed the lesson. I would have missed the preparation. I would have missed the growth, made me ready for what I have now. You have to trust your process. You have to believe that where you are right now is not the end of your story. But that belief can't live beside jealousy. It can't lie beside insecurity. And it sure can't grow in the shadows of someone else's success. You've got to look in the mirror and say, I am enough just as I am. And I'm becoming more every single day. That's how you win. That's how I started to win. Not by chasing other people's paths, but by owning mine. Own apologetically, authentically. So if you're not winning yet, maybe it's because you're not even in your own race. You've been watching instead of working, comparing instead of committing. But it's not too late to shift. Get back in your lane. Put your head down. Work in silence. Trust your voice. Trust your timing. And when your moment comes, and it will come, you'll be ready. Not because you copied someone else's formula, but because you finally believed is already more than enough. You don't believe it's possible for you. That's the real problem. That's what's holding you back. And I know that feeling because I've been there too. See, people think I always had this strong belief, this unshakable confidence. But that's not the truth. The truth is, there were moments I doubted myself so hard, it hurt to even try. I wasn't born into privilege, into certainty, into guarantees. I was born into the unknown, just like you. And for a long time, I looked around and I didn't see people who looked like me making it. And I thought, maybe this dream isn't for me. Maybe I'm reaching too far. Maybe I should just settle for what's safe. But deep down, I knew that voice was lying to me. I knew I had something inside of me that the world hadn't seen yet. But the battle wasn't out there. It was in here, in my own head. You think the world is the enemy, but really, the loudest opposition is your own voice telling you you're not enough, telling you you're not ready, telling you people like you don't make it. You see someone else winning, and instead of being inspired, you shrink. You start telling yourself, they must have had connections. They must be lucky. They're built different. But the truth is, the only thing different is their belief. They chose to believe before they had proof. That's the difference. They bet on themselves when no one else would. I remember walking into auditions and hearing that voice. You're not good enough. You're not what they're looking for. You don't belong here. And sometimes I believed it. I'd walk out that room already defeated, and it had nothing to do with the casting director. It was me. It was my own disbelief. That's what kills most dreams. Self-doubt. Not lack of skill, not lack of resources, lack of belief. Because if you don't believe, you won't work. And if you won't work, you won't grow. And if you don't grow, you don't win. Simple as that. I had to flip the switch. I had to look in the mirror and say, no more waiting for the world to approve of me. No more needing someone else to tell me I'm good enough. I had to be enough for me. You're not winning yet because you're still waiting for permission to go all in. You're waiting for the fear to disappear before you move. But let me tell you something. Fear doesn't disappear. You learn to move through. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing it anyway. Faith isn't about knowing it'll work out. It's stepping forward even when you can't see the full path. You keep saying, I'll believe when I see it. But winning doesn't work like that. You've got to see it before you believe it. You've got to believe it when it's invisible. You've got to show up before the spotlight hits you. You've got to put in the hours when nobody claps, when nobody notices, when no one even cares. That's the work. That's the price. And if you're not willing to pay it, then stop complaining about why you're not there yet. I'm not where I am today because someone handed it to me. I'm here because I got tired of letting fear define my potential. I stopped waiting to feel qualified and started acting like I belonged, even when I didn't fully believe it yet. That's how belief works. It grows as you go. It doesn't arrive before the journey. It develops during the journey. But you've got to take the first step. You've got to show life that you mean business. You've got to prove to yourself this isn't just a wish. It's your calling. You already have what it takes. You just don't believe it yet. But belief is a decision. And the moment you decide to believe in yourself fully, without hesitation, that's the moment your life changes. That's when you stop surviving and start living. That's when you stop dreaming and start doing. So don't wait another year. Don't wait for someone to validate you. Look in the mirror and as decide, you were built to win, but you've got to believe that first.